Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexx here with another Master Duel video for you guys. So today we're going to be doing an update that I was talking about in a recent video. I'm going to be updating our Prank-Kids combo guide because the last one, while not necessarily outdated, it does still have relevant information in it. Definitely is now missing some information now that we of course have the adventure line as well. The adventure engine doesn't particularly change how the Prank-Kids combos play for the most part, but it is going to still add some crucial details that we should go over. So we'll be doing that here in this video. We will of course also go over the more standard Prank-Kids lines as well, or the ones that you do with like one Prank-Kids card or two Prank-Kids cards. I noticed that when I do these videos, I often talk about, by these I mean Adventure Prank-Kids videos, I often will use the phrases, oh, the one Prank-Kid line or the two Prank-Kid lines. So I also just wanted to make sure that I've fully established what I mean when I'm talking about that. So that way everybody's just up to speed, you know. Plus, obviously, I like to do these videos so that people who are interested in playing the deck can have a resource to come to one, concise place, as opposed to like, me sometimes explaining the combo line in videos or doing it every single time. That would get really repetitive. So I like to have these combo guides aside. So I'll be using my build that I've been using both on ladder and in the Duelist Cup here in order to show off the combos. I feel this is a relatively balanced build in terms of, like most of my decks tend to be. It's not doing anything too wild as far as tech goes. It's playing all the stuff that's necessary to use in order to do all of the plays there. We are using stuff that not necessarily every Prank-Kid deck plays, like Rip Roar and Roaster and Totally Awesome are definitely not required. The two Prank-Kid line that I usually do, that I like to do, does go into Rip Roar and Roaster, but I will show you, I should have an alternative with two Prank-Kids that you can do even if you're not playing Rip Roar and Roaster. So we'll take a look at that as well. Alright, so let's see here. There was one other thing. Oh yes, so there is one kind of combo, I guess, so to speak, that we're not going to be showing off because I'm not playing that card anymore, and that's Instant Fusion. Yeah, I did take Instant Fusion out of the build, mostly just because it's not really, like, yes, it can be used to play around Ash Blossom, and yes, it is a relatively good extender, but it'd require more space in the extra deck. I'd have to take something out to put the Weather Washer back in. Which I really like the extra deck where it is right now. I want to keep it where it is right now. And even beyond that, it's also just like, it's really not necessary. You don't draw it that often, and it's not like Thunder Dragon Fusion, where I also don't think that's necessary, but I am interested in trying to get it back in the deck potentially. Instant Fusion, I don't have that inclination. I think I'm good on Instant Fusion for the time being. So that combo line I do show off in my previous combo guides, so if you want to see it, you can check that out, but just wanted to clarify, it is not going to be in this one here. So I'll break down the list card by card like I do for my duel videos, just so anyone who's new to the deck knows what all these cards are, and you can pause as I'm going through them if you need to see what all they do and the effect on the side, or look them up, so it goes. Anyway, we are playing in this build 2 Prank-Kids Fansies, 3 Maxx, 3 Prank-Kids Dropsies, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Prank-Kids Lampsies, 2 Water Enchantress of the Temple, 1 Destiny Hero Celestial, 1 Prank-Kids Rocksies, 1 Destiny Hero Dasher, 1 Wandering Gryphon Rider, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Foolish Burial, 2 Fusion Destiny, 2 Rite of Aramesir, 1 Dracoback the Rideable Dragon, 3 Prank-Kids Place, 1 Prank-Kids Pranks, 1 Fateful Adventure, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Prank-Kids Pandemonium, 2 Crossout Designator, 2 Forbidden Droplet, and 2 Infinite Impermanence. Extra deck is going to have 1 Prank-Kids Rocket Ride, 1 Destiny Hero Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, 1 Prank-Kids Battle Butler, 1 Totally Awesome, 2 Link Spider, 2 Prank-Kids Meow Meow Moo, 2 Prank-Kids Dodo Doodle Doo, 1 Prank-Kids Bow Wow Bark, 1 Predaplant Verte Anaconda, 1 Knightmare Unicorn, 1 Prank-Kids Rip Roar and Roaster, and then finally 1 Accesscode Talker. Alright, so again, that is the build there. Yeah, alright, let's go ahead and take a look at some combos now. Okay, so as always, as I like to do with these combo guides, we're going to start off with the simplest combo first. This, by simplest, I mean requires the least number of materials in order to get started. And one of the many strengths of Prank-Kids as an engine, as a deck, as an archetype, is that it can do a very solid baseline combo with just any one Prank-Kids monster. It is also going to require you have another card in hand to banish with Rocksies later, but you know, if you're going first, obviously you're going to have those cards. But the only requirement as far as what you need to pull off this combo that we're going to show you is any one Prank-Kids monster. That's a lot of why this deck is so powerful. So even though, again, we could set up, you know, the Gryphon Rider, and we could actually do a 2 Prank-Kids line because we open place. Again, as I like to do with these combo guides, let's just assume these are all bricked dead cards. And we've only got the Lampsies as a live card for the play here. So we're going to start by normal summoning our Lampsies in attack mode. That's going to allow us to go into our Link 1 Prank-Kids Meow Meow Moo, sending the Lampsies. Now Lampsies, like every Prank-Kids main deck monster, when it's sent to the graveyard as a material for either a fusion or link summon, then you can activate the effect to do a minor effect and then special summon a Prank-Kids from the deck. Lampsies' minor effect is that it inflicts 500 damage to the opponent, which is actually pretty solid for building up lethal. Okay, so then we can summon a Prank-Kids from the deck. Now, if it's not the one you started with, it's typically best to do Prank-Kids Fansies second. There are scenarios where it's actually not, and we'll go over those later in the combo guides, or in a different combo in this combo guide. But for the most part, like 95% of the time, Prank-Kids Fansies is right to go into first if you didn't already open it. So we'll go for Fansies here. And now we're going to link summon our Prank-Kids Dodo using the Fansies we just summoned and the Meow Meow Moo that we went into. This is kind of what Prank-Kids is all about, is like link climbing like this, using each respective Prank-Kids effect. Now, one concept that's really important for Prank-Kids in general is chain blocking. For those who are not familiar, chain blocking means setting up your chain link in such a way that you can order which optional effects activate in which order. If you're not sure how to set that up, you're just going to go to Settings, Dual, and it should be, I think it's Activation Order Settings. You want to set that to On. I'm pretty sure that's the setting you go to there. But so in order to make sure that we chain block effectively, we want to, so the effect we want to resolve is the Prank-Kids Fansies, right? We don't want our opponent to be able to Ash Blossom this. Of course, if our opponent had an Ash Blossom, they probably would have used that on the first Prank-Kid anyway. It's still important to play around it. So we're going to do this effect first, because as we know in Yu-Gi-Oh!, chain links resolve backwards. The first one in is the last one out. So we want the Fansies to be blocked, and you can actually see it's like kind of blocked like this, and we want the Dodo to block it. So if you just click it in that order, and then you're good to go. Dodo with this line, we're going to add Prank-Kids Pranks from our deck to our hand. And now with Fansies, we're going to send Pandemonium from our deck to the graveyard. That's very important that you do that, so both of those things. Actually, if your Prank-Kids Dodo gets negated there, that's not too much of an issue. What you'll do then is you'll just send the Pranks instead of the Pandemonium with the Fansies, and then you'll use the Dodo's second effect a little bit later. So in any case, we're definitely going to summon a monster to the field. We're going to go ahead and summon Dropsies next. Now we're going to activate Prank-Kids Dodo's second effect, just sacrificing it to get back that Pandemonium we just sent, and the Fansies. Now again, if your Dodo got hit by like an Veiler or an Imperm or something, then obviously you don't activate the effects because it would get negated. You would just link straight into your next Dodo and then use that to get back the pranks that you sent with Fansies. Again, that's if your Dodo got hit with Veiler or Imperm. But assuming it resolved like so, we're going to activate Pranks, and we'll activate Pranks effect in order to discard that Fansies we just added. Now we can summon the token, and now we can link into our second Dodo. It might seem weird that we're going into our second Dodo and we're not going to use either of the effects, because obviously we've already used both effects, but this is actually necessary in order to be able to cycle through all of our Prank-Kids. So Dropsies is going to gain us 1,000 life points and then summon another Prank-Kid. We'll summon Rocksies, which is the last Prank-Kid we haven't used yet. Now we're just going to go ahead and link summon again. Bow Wow Bark using Rocksies and the Dodo. And then now we'll activate our last Prank-Kid, Rocksies. This does, like I talked about earlier, require you to have a card to banish in hand. We'll just banish it, doesn't matter, we'll just banish the place, why not? And we'll get to draw a new card. And when we draw an Ash Blossom. So that's one of the reasons I actually like Rocksies a little bit. A lot of people don't, and it is sometimes annoying because you have to have a card to banish, and sometimes you don't have that card, or sometimes you want to keep all your cards. But I can also cycle some dead cards into like live hand traps a decent amount of the time, so I don't mind Rocksies so much. So for your last Prank Kid here, I like to summon Fansies because it's got 2000 defense, and it's going to be either Fansies, Lampsies, or Dropsies. You want to make sure that you have access to all three of these, because we're going to be going into Battle Butler during our opponent's turn as part of this combo here. So from this point, we're going to set that Pandemonium, and we'll pass to the opponent, go to the end phase. Now, I'm going to flip this to on because I want to use my Bow Wow Barks effect during my opponent's draw phase. And the reason I want to do it during the draw phase is because I don't want them to be able to have a kaiju during their main phase and sacrifice my Bow Wow Bark, and then I can't use this effect, and then I'm really sad. So during the end phase is when I like to set this to on. So we will definitely activate the effect of Prank-Kids Pranks. You're going to want to put back Rocksies, Doodle Doodle Do, and then again, you want to make sure you have access to one of each Fansies, Dropsies, and Lampsies to fuse for the Battle Butler. So we don't want to put either of those back. Don't want to put Meow Meow Moo back because we want that in the graveyard to use with Battle Butler's effect. So I usually just like to put back the other Fansies to have more stuff to go into from the main deck. It's definitely important to make sure if you've got pranks out that you're cycling these main deck Prank-Kids monsters back into the deck to then summon later. So during the opponent's draw phase, like I said, we're going to use Bow Wow Barks effect. Do not use the effect of Meow Meow Moo here. You definitely do not want to do that. It's going to throw you way out of whack. Always hit no here with the Bow Wow Bark. Alright, now we can add the Dropsies and the Lampsies back to our hand, and now we have all the materials to fuse into a Battle Butler during the opponent's turn. So I like to keep this toggled to on here, even after doing the Bow Wow Bark, to be able to make sure that we can Pandemonium ASAP, because you do have to wait to the main phase in order to activate this effect. So we're going to activate, or we're going to summon rather, the Battle Butler here, fusing the Fansies on board, the Dropsies and Lampsies in hand. And Battle Butler not only has 3k attack and defense, but can also destroy all monsters on the opponent's board as a quick effect. And not only that, as you can see, we can now also activate all three of these Prank-Kids effects, as it is a new turn, and they've all been sent to the graveyard as materials for a fusion summon. If you wanted to chain block there with the Battle Butler, you could as well. As you saw, we had the option to activate it. So, alright, as far as which Prank-Kids to summon here, the reason we're playing 3 Dropsies and less than 3 copies of all the other Prank-Kids, but specifically Dropsies is the one we want to play 3 of, because we want to be able to summon 2 of them during the opponent's turn here when we're fusing for Battle Butler. And the reason you want to summon 2 is because that will give you the option to go into Totally Awesome during your next turn. And then you'll have an Omni negate up before you start making your plays during the next turn. Opponent's going to go into battle phase here. I'll use the Battle Butler in order to stop them from destroying my Dropsies. I do want to use the effect of Meow Meow Moo here, because that's going to banish itself instead of Butler attributing itself, which obviously we like keeping the 3k body that can Raigeki the opponent's board as a quick effect, as opposed to just sacking it off. So now it's our turn again. Like I said, because we have the 2 Dropsies on board, we can, before doing anything else, go straight into a Totally Awesome. This is definitely an ideal scenario to be able to do that, because you can do it before, again, like I said, doing anything else. The opponent's not going to have a chance to respond. So now, obviously finding lethal from here is pretty easy. We can just turn this to attack mode. We can use the Fansies to just go into like a Meow Meow Moo. And that's already, what, 6,200 damage right there. So the Prank-Kids do have to summon in defense mode, so that is one thing to be mindful of. Yeah, we can summon like the Fansies, or the Lampsies rather, go into like another Doodle Doodle Do. That'll burn the opponent for another 500. And so, like I mentioned with the Lampsies before too, like we've already done, what, 1,500 damage to the opponent without even battling yet, so. And then, yeah, now we easily have lethal like on board here. And yeah, that's actually a pretty standard Prank-Kids line. And that's just with one Prank-Kid. That's with one Prank-Kid and 1 card to banish with Rocksies that we got that set up for lethal there. So, yeah, that definitely shows off, like, why this deck is so strong. And again, you see we even also had like the ability to set up an Omni Negate with the adventure line there that we didn't do. Yeah, it's just it's pretty ridiculous. So again, I wanted to start off by showing the bare basics, what one Prank Kid and one other card in hand, any other card just to banish with Rocksies will get you, which is an easy lethal there. So now let's go ahead and show off the next combo line here. Okay, so for the next combo line that we're going to show off, this is what I like to refer to as the 2 Prank Kid line. So this is a slight variation of the last combo line that we did that you can do if you open with any 2 Prank Kids monsters instead of just the 1. So again, for the sake of the rest of this hand, or for the sake of the combo line and keeping it to its bare basics, I'm going to ignore the fact that I could set up my adventure line once again with this hand. I mean, you're already seeing why this deck is so powerful. Being able to do all these solid combos in addition to having the ability to set up the adventure line, usually with relative ease there. So, but again, we'll ignore it and just assume we only have the 2 Prank Kids in hand, and then of course we'll use a card to banish with Rocksies as always later. But anyway, we'll start with our first Prank Kid. I'll lead with Fansies here. Like I mentioned in the first combo line, I like to lead with Fansies as early as possible, if possible. And I'll summon Meow Meow Moo as always. Going to use the Fansies effect. So with the 1 Prank Kid line, the last combo we did, it mattered that we sent Pandemonium to the graveyard. This line is a little bit different. It actually doesn't matter what we send with Fansies to the graveyard with this effect. That being the case, I usually just like to toss a Prank Kid's place because if you don't open with it, you usually don't need it later. So just best to get it in the graveyard out of the deck. And then of course we're going to summon a monster to the field. Now it's important when doing this line that we don't summon the Prank Kid that's in our hand because we're actually going to fuse using it in our hand during this first turn here. So we want to make sure we're not summoning Lampsies here at any point. So we'll summon Dropsies next. Throw it right here. And now we'll use Dropsies and Meow Meow Moo to go into Dodo Doodle Doo. Throw it right there. And yep, we will activate the Dropsies and activate the Dodo Doodle Doo. Chain blocking like I mentioned in the last combo guide, or the last combo line rather. Alright, now Doodle Doodle Doo last time added pranks, but this time for this line is going to add Pandemonium instead. That's why we didn't send Pandemonium with Fansies. And Dropsies will gain us some life and then summon Rocksies. Again, we're not summoning Lampsies because we're actually right now about to fuse with that in our hand. Let's go ahead and activate the Pandemonium effect. One thing to always remember about Prank-Kids Pandemonium is that for the rest of the turn after you use it, you can only normal or special Prank-Kids monsters. So if you did have the adventure line here, you definitely would have wanted to do that before you activated the Pandemonium. But in any case here, now we can prank summon. I really almost said prank summon. We can fusion summon Prank-Kids Rocky, right? You know, whatever. It's a prank summon, right? Yeah, we'll fuse the Lampsies and the Dropsies. And we'll make the Rocket Ride. This is important. Do not put the Rocket Ride under the Doodle Doodle Doo. You need this open for Link summoning. Do not put Rocket Ride in this zone. Or whatever zone Doodle Doodle Doo is pointing to. Don't do it. Put it in any other zone. I usually just put it in the middle. But very important. That's a very important thing here. So now we're going to use the Prank Kids effects here. And we can even chain block with the Rocket Ride. Like so. The Rocket Ride effect doesn't matter because it's turn 1, we're not going to be battling with it anyway. And we're going to end up sending it to the graveyard, so the fact that it loses attack doesn't matter either. Sure, we'll just banish Nibiru here, that's fine. And we'll summon, it doesn't really matter which ones you summon here. I'll just summon Fansies. And then I'll summon, we're going to have to summon a Dropsies. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so now we're going to Link summon a Bow Wow Bark, and we're going to do so using the Dropsies and the Fansies that we summoned from deck. Now, obviously, we've already used both of those effects, so that's not going to generate any more Prank-Kids monsters, but that's fine. We don't need any more at this point. Don't use Doodle Doodle Doo's effect yet, because what we're going to do first is link the Bow Wow Bark and the Doodle Doodle Doo into Prank-Kids Rip Roar and Roaster. Okay, so now we can use Rocket Ride's effect, which can bring back any 2 Prank-Kids monsters from the graveyard, as long as they have different names. It doesn't even matter that they're Link monsters, they can still be brought back, so... And they don't even have, like, their effects negated or anything, they just can't battle, so... But obviously for turn 1, that doesn't matter at all. So definitely a very strong effect there. Okay, now we're going to use Doodle Doodle Doo's effect, and we're going to use Doodle Doodle Doo and Bow Wow Bark's cumulative 4 adds in order to set up our Battle Butler for the next turn. So we're going to use the Doodle Doodle Doo to get the Pandemonium, and we'll get the Lampsies. Alright, looks solid to me. Make sure we set the Pandemonium here. We'll flip this to on and then go to the end phase. Again, we're going to flip this to on so that way we can Bow Wow Bark during the opponent's draw phase before they have a chance to potentially kaiju it away. We're not going to use Meow Meow Moo's effect here. And we are going to get, let's see, we added Lampsies, so we'll get the Dropsies and the Fansies. And so this is what I've seen referred to before as the triple board wipe board, because we have a nice total of 3 different board wipe effects we can do here. Well, we'll have it once we get the Battle Butler on the board, which we'll do now by activating Pandemonium. Summoning that using the 3 different Prank-Kids in hand here. But yeah, now with Meow Meow Moo engraved, we can, because Battle Butler can blow up all monsters, and Ripborn Roaster can blow up all face-down spell and traps. And we also have Meow Meow Moo as a banish so we can use either of these effects twice. Usually that's going to be Battle Butler most of the time, but if you're playing against like Eldritch or something, you'll probably want to use Meow Meow Moo on Ripborn Roaster for multiple back row wipes, so... yeah, it's just a very, very powerful line. This is why I like Ripborn Roaster in the deck as well. And we can send another place, because we probably won't need that. Summon a Lampsies. I think we only have 2 Prank-Kids to actually summon here. Yeah, because we can't summon anything with Dropsies. But that's fine. Definitely still worth it to get extra monsters on board. And yeah, so again, that's just the 2-card Prank-Kid line that you can do if you're playing the Ripborn Roaster there. We can flip this back to auto. Again, very, very powerful. Sets up the Meow Meow Moo in graveyard. Obviously, you'd want to do that. Use the Meow Meow Moo during your opponent's turn, because that's the only time you can use it. So, I guess technically, if I was just going to pass there, I should have blown up the monster. But whatever, this obviously isn't a real game anyway. So, yeah, that's a very, once again, just solid setup that you can do with any 2 Prank-Kids monsters there. So, alright, let's go now take a look at the next line. Okay, so another thing I wanted to go over in this combo guide, aside from just showing the combo lines themselves, is also showing how to actually play around certain common pieces of disruption that you'll come across when playing Prank-Kids. One of those pieces of disruption being Nibiru, actually. So, yeah, let's talk about what happens if you get Nibiru and how to play around that. So, in order to be able to do this play, to kind of play around Nibiru, and it's not going to allow you to fully play around it. Like, you won't be able to do your full combo, but you'll still have solid plays even if you get Nibiru'd. So to do this though, you do have to have any 2 Prank-Kids monsters in your hand. So we did open both Dropsies and the Prank-Kids place here. So we're going to start with Prank-Kids place to add a Prank-Kids monster. Let's just, I don't know, let's get Lampsies. Doesn't really matter which one we get. And we'll lead by summoning Lampsies here. Go into the Meow Meow Moo. This is going to be the standard kind of, setup for pretty much any Prank-Kids line, going into the first Doodle Doodle Doo here. Activating Lampsies F. And we'll summon Fansies here. Alright, now we summon the Doodle Doodle Doo. And this Doodle Doodle Doo is actually going to be the 5th summon here. So, we'll drop it like this, right? And then, well, the opponent will probably wait for you to summon off the Fansies here. But, we'll use Fansies F. And then we'll use Doodle Doodle Doo's effect. But regardless, if they've got Nibiru, like, you'll see the prompts. That's the other thing, too, is, like, if your opponent didn't have any responses, but then suddenly after Doodle Doodle Doo, they have a prompt to respond, that's how you know they have Nibiru. So, even if they don't, like, reveal it here at this point, they'll probably wait till you, summon off the Fansies, but you should be able to see if they have Nibiru in hand. So, that being the case, we're going to add the pranks with the Doodle Doodle Doo here. And then with Fansies, it doesn't really matter here because we're going to be playing around Nibiru anyway, but we'll just kind of do like the 1 Prank-Kid line and send Pandemonium here. And then now, presumably at this point when you summon, whatever, like Dropsies, boom, this is when you get Nibiru, right? So, Obviously, again, the opponent's not gonna be able to do that, but you know, they've got the Nibiru and you've got your token here. But at this point, you've still got the Prank-Kids Pranks and then that other Prank-Kids card that you opened with. So what you can do is activate the Pranks and then use the effect, send Dropsies to the graveyard to summon the Prank-Kids token. Now you can link away the token in order to make a Link Spider. And then the other thing you can do, of course, is you've got the Nibiru token, you link away the Nibiru token to make the other Link Spider. And that's why we play 2 Link Spiders, to be able to make the 2 effect monsters in this scenario. Now, let's assume this Doodle Do is the other Link Spider that we're able to go into. Now, you would take your 2 Link Spiders, like so, and then you send those away for Verte Anaconda. And then now, of course, if you've played any DPE deck, you know what we do from here, right? We activate Verte Anaconda's effect, pay 2,000, send the Fusion Destiny, summon the DPE, sending the Dasher, and of course the Celestial as well. And you can just drop it like there. So, yeah, so again, obviously, the opponent couldn't actually Nibiru us there, but assuming that Doodle Do was the other Link Spider that we linked away the Nibiru token to summon, that's what you can do if you get Nibiru'd, and that's why it's important to play 2 Link Spider. Not just for this either, actually. I've definitely had games where I've got, like, my adventure token, right? And then I've got my opponent disrupts my plays, but I've still got the pranks and a prank kid. And then from there, again, you can use the adventure token to go into a Link Spider, the prank kid's token to go to a Link Spider, link those into the Verte Anaconda and make a DPE. So again, just wanted to show off more alternative lines, because I know I've seen that question, not like necessarily specifically in Prank Kids videos, but I've seen comments before of like, you know, in combo guides of like, well, what happens if you get disrupted? What happens if you get Nibiru'd? So here is specifically what you can do if you're going about your combo and you get Nibiru'd. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next line here. Alright, so I wanted to take this section to talk a little bit less about comboing and again more about playing through your combo through specific disruption. And this time I want to talk about Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, because that is actually a card that is very detrimental to this deck, more so than a lot of other decks. You know, most decks might have a specific choke point where Ash Blossom does fully stop their combo if it resolves. But most decks can play through an Ash with relative ease, just kind of depend on the deck. Prank-Kids is actually not one of those decks at all. Each of the Prank-Kids effects is going to be summoning from the deck, and as a result, each is susceptible to getting hit with Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So, it's definitely very important that we're always playing around that card if possible. And this is actually kind of an ideal hand to show you ways that you can play around Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring to stop yourself from getting hit by it, to force your opponent, and not force your opponent, but to bait your opponent into using it, or maybe sometimes force them. And also what to do if you get hit with it. In this hand, I can actually think of a line that we can do if we got hit with an Ash Blossom. So, one of the things that I like to do in order to play around Ash Blossom is to try to bait it out. That's one of the reasons the Adventure line is so good in this deck, right? Because all the pieces of it are ashable, which normally you don't want your Adventure stuff to get ashed, but in this deck we actually kind of do sometimes, especially if we want to go for like a Prank-Kids line. So, so for this hand, for example, right, we've got the Water Enchantress. We could just banish that in order to search for the Rite of Aramesir. We've also got the Foolish Burial. The Foolish isn't really going to be used for anything besides Water Enchantress in this particular deck. We're not trying to Foolish really any of our Prank-Kids monsters or anything else in our deck. So given that is the case, there's kind of already no reason not to Foolish the Water Enchantress. But here, again, I'm trying to bait Ash Blossom, and I want to give my opponent as many opportunities to do that as possible. Good general tip for playing period. Just give your opponent as many opportunities to misplay as you can. So even though we don't need to do it, we're going to activate Foolish Burial here. In an ideal world, boom, they just hit us with an Ash right here. Totally fine. But usually it resolves. They usually let it resolve. So now we're not going to banish the Water Enchantress from hand. We're going to banish the one that we just activated. We don't want to give our opponent extra information that we have like an extra Water Enchantress and that this was more or less just a bait. So if we keep this fourth card a mystery, it could be like, you know, anything to them. It's like the boogeyman, right? So we'll use the Water Enchantress from grave. Again, this is another opportunity for opponent to ash us. Boom. We like to see it if they have it here. Using the right here can also be a really good way to test for Maxx as well. Because if we normal summon a Prank Kid, they Maxx, that's obviously not ideal because then we can't, that Prank Kid probably won't live through the next turn. and we can't combo with it. So, just the adventure engine in general, as it actually is for most decks, is best in this deck as a means of like probing to see what kind of responses your opponent might have. So, we'll throw the adventure token here, and then we'll set up the Fateful Adventure. This is going to be really, really important to play around Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, is this Fateful Adventure right here. This is actually, you know, pretty much every adventure deck only plays one copy of this. There are actually some Prank-Kids decks that play 2, or maybe even 3. I think 3 is overkill, but I could see a world where you play 2 Fateful Adventure in this deck, specifically because you can use this to chain block and play around Maxx in ways that the deck wasn't able to before. And I'll show you how to do it here. First, we need our Prank-Kids monster in our hand, though, so let's activate Prank-Kids Place. I've alluded to this before in other videos. I really like Place also as a means of playing around Ash, or not necessarily playing around, but probing to see if they have the Ash Blossom. Normally, most players should Ash the Prank-Kids effect and not the Place. It is better to Ash the effect and not the Place for the exact reason I'm about to describe, which is, you know, if you open Place and a Prank-Kid, and you activate Place, and that gets Ashed, well, that's a good thing, because now you can just normal some of the other Prank-Kid and do your line anyway. Whereas if you Place, add a Prank-Kid, then normal it, and that gets Ash, even if you've got a backup Prank-Kid in hand, you still can't normal it. So, but one thing you can still use Place for, even if most people don't Ash it, is if you activate it and your opponent's got a prompt to respond, especially if you haven't done anything else that turn yet, and you don't have anything else on the field, that's usually a pretty good indicator that your opponent's got an Ash Blossom, and you need to think about playing around that. So that's one of the reasons I like playing 3 Place and less Prank-Kids monsters, as opposed to playing like 1 Place and more Prank-Kids monsters in the main deck. So, all right, here we'll add, I usually like to add Dropsies because it's the one I've got 3 of if I don't have any other Prank-Kids monsters in my hand. All right, so now we'll talk about chain blocking against Ash Blossom using specifically Fateful Adventure. So one of the big weaknesses of Prank-Kids is that it's really hard to chain block the first Prank-Kids effect, right? But we can actually do that with Fateful Adventure. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna normal summon our Prank-Kids Dropsies. Do not activate the optional effects here. Cancel or right click like I do. So yeah, do not activate it when you normal summon Dropsies. Rather, we're going to link summon the Meow Meow Moo using the Dropsies. And then we're going to activate the optional effect. A good just visual way to remember that is you want to activate Fateful Adventure when you see it like this, right? If it pops up by itself, don't do it. But if you see it pop up with the Prank-Kid, that's when you want to do it. Now, like I talked about earlier in the combo guide, you want to make sure that you're chain blocking the Prank-Kid's effect so that it doesn't get Ash Blossomed. The reason that this works is that Ash Blossom has to directly respond to the monster that it's negating. So if we do Dropsies, Chainlink 1, and then Adventure Chainlink 2, because our optional effects are activating simultaneously and our opponent does not have a chance to respond before we order our optional effects. So if we order them like so, then yeah, the opponent can Ash the Fateful Adventure, but importantly, most importantly, they're not going to be able to Ash our what do you call it, our Dropsies, right? So we're going to pick the Draco back. Do not add it to hand, or do not equip it rather. If you click no, it'll add to hand. I don't like that prompt. It should say equip or add, and then the prompt should be equip or add, but whatever. So yeah, we're definitely going to special summon. We'll go into Fansies next here. Now we can activate the Adventure's other effect, adding the Wandering Gryphon Rider. If you've played any Adventure deck, you know about this part already. Discarding the Draco back. That's going to be a free discard because the Draco back can just equip to the Adventure token. And then we can special the Gryphon Rider as well. And now we're already playing around Ash because we've got an Omni Negate up. But I'll show you to play a way to play around Ash, even assuming we don't have the Gryphon Rider up. So yeah, here we're going to go into our Doodle Doodle Do next. Because I've actually had a game where this has happened like this. You know, this is obviously an extreme example, but it does still happen from time to time. So once again, we're going to chain block the Prank-Kids monster by choosing to activate it first and then the other effect. As you can see, that's going to block it off there. And since we're doing the one Prank-Kids line, we're going to use Dodo Doodle Do to add the pranks. And then the Fansies to send the Pandemonium there. And let's see, we'll summon Lampsies. We haven't summoned that one yet. Alright, now we activate our Dodo Doodle Do's effect. And we'll target the Pandemonium and the Fansies. That's fine. Alright, so again, just continuing with the one Prank-Kid line, we're activating pranks. And then using the effect to discard that Fansies. Get our Prank-Kids token. And then we link summon into our second Doodle. So now there are times where, you know, at this stage, you'll get hit with the Ash, because this is now the way that we've been comboing. This is the first Prank-Kids effect that's kind of like out in the open, right? This is the first one that's like been that we're not able to chain block. So I've had games before where like I opened the Fateful Adventure, right? And because I opened Fateful Adventure and not the Water Enchantress, I wasn't able to actually, you know, get the Gryphon Rider on board, but still able to get the token up and chain block with the Fateful Adventure. I think I actually showed this game off in a replay now that I think about it. I might try to link the video if I remember which one it is. So, you know, in that scenario, in this hypothetical scenario, we don't have the Gryphon Rider, but we do have the Adventure token and this Doodle deal. And this Lampsies tries to resolve, we're going to hit cancel and assume it gets ashed. You have a couple different options here. You could use the Link token to go into a Link Spider, then send the Link Spider and the Doodle do into the Verte Anaconda to go into your DPE there. That's one way you can play around Ash. Another way is if we didn't have... I don't know, let's just assume somehow we didn't have Doodle doing or Gryphon Rider here. You could still special summon the Water Enchantress. Throw that here, and then once again, use the Adventure token to go into a Link Spider, and then just go into Verte Anaconda that way. Like, there's so many potential ways. Like, with this hand in particular, I'm really glad I opened, because I wanted to show off a bunch of different ways you can potentially play around Ash Blossom, and we've seen, just in this one hand, like a ton of different ways that you could potentially do that. Now, of course, we have an awkward board because I clicked cancel on the Lampsies, but like Nibiru, we're kind of leaning back on DPE as a fallback play. If we get disrupted, we can still go into DPE, which is in its own a powerful card that can still win games by itself, and you know, still have a bunch of other options like Droplet and the Adventure engine as well. So I do have one more line to show off. Let's go and take a look at it. Okay, so I wanted to show off a going second combo line here as well, because that's obviously also very important information to know, is how to play when going second. And this deck, it does actually have a specific combo line that you can do going second, where you know, if you're opening any two Prank-Kids monsters, again, a place will do as well because it searches Prank-Kids monster, you're able to actually go into an access code battle with it and then continue to use it as a combo piece in main phase 2. It's not an OTK. It actually is. This would be an OTK because we have the Rite of Aramesir. So I guess I can actually show that off too, how to OTK with this hand as well. So yeah, this combo line is again any two Prank-Kids monsters, but if you also open Rite of Aramesir and or Water Enchantress, then it's just an OTK as well. So yeah, let's just go straight into it. I'm gonna start by activating place, of course, to get my other Prank-Kids monster. I'll just add Dropsies because it's my 3 of, right? Alright, so let's start by summoning the Dropsies. Go into Meow Moo. This is first part of the combo. Is going to be fairly standard to pretty much every Prank-Kids combo here. We're going to use the Dropsies effect. And hey, because we're going second, we can even chain block the first effect of the place here. Because the place will drop your opponent's monster's attack from... Or if you link summon a Prank-Kids Link monster. Which doesn't come up, obviously, during turn 1. So that's why you can't do that most of the time. But anyway, we'll go ahead and get the Fansies next. We'll summon Doodle do. Now we're going to use Doodle do to get pranks here. And we could just use Fansies to send Pandemonium. Why not? Yep, so yeah, we'll just add the pranks like so. And yeah, whatever, we'll send Pandemonium, doesn't really matter. And then we'll summon our third Prank Kid. I don't think it particularly matters. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Like, if we summon the Lampsies, I don't think it'd really matter here. I'll pull Rocksies anyway, though, just because we do have the Lampsies in hand. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to activate Prank-Kids Pranks. We're going to use the effect, send the other Prank-Kids monster that's in our hand in order to summon the token. Okay, now we're going to summon the Bow Wow Bark using the token and the Lampsies, or the Prank Kid that we summoned. I guess we technically should have summoned Lampsies, but it doesn't really matter. We'll summon Lampsies now anyway. We'll banish, sure, the Imperm, why not? Doesn't really matter. Well, of course, then we get into the Rite of Aramesir. And, yeah, we'll summon Lampsies, we haven't summoned that one yet, but we're not going to use this Prank Kid for summoning a Prank-Kids monster anyway, so now what we're going to do is actually go into our Accesscode Talker using that Bow Wow Bark and the Dodo Dodo Do. And of course, we will activate the effect to gain 2,000 attack points because we used Link 2 monsters. And then, you know, from here, as always, you can use Bow Wow Bark's effect to blow up as many cards on your opponent's board as you need to. You can blow up to 3 because you've also got the, you know, Meow Meow Moo and the Bow Wow Bark, of course, but I don't really feel the need to blow up this mountain. So now here, because we have Rite of Aramesir specifically, we do actually have lethal. So this is actually no TK here. And then, of course, we get the Fateful Adventure, and now we can activate the Fateful Adventure effect, add the Gryphon Rider, send the extra right, and then activate and summon a Gryphon Rider, and then boom, that's 8,300 damage right there. So, again, if you've got the adventure line in addition to that, then you can find lethal there. But I'll show you what to do even if you don't have lethal in this case. So then, of course, you would battle with your access code. And then, assuming we don't have these, then main phase 2, what you do, and this might seem a little bit weird, but we're actually going to use access code as a combo piece. We're going to send it with our 4th prank kit that we got in order to make Verte Anaconda. And then from there, we can set up a DPE going into the opponent's turn. So that's a nice combo line that you can do there. Again, if you open any 2 Prank Kids monsters and you're going second, it'll let you blow up to 3 cards on your opponent's board, take out half of their life points, and then set up a DPE. That is kind of one of the weaknesses of Prank Kids, is that it can do everything except OTK. It has a really hard time OTKing, except for, again, scenarios like this where you open 2 Prank Kids monsters plus wow, weird, an adventure engine going second, which is a very specific scenario, but it does happen occasionally, just a little bit harder than most other decks to, like I said, OTK like that. So, alright, that is the going second line. I think that's about all I wanted to show off as far as combo lines. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move now to the outro. Alright everybody, thanks for watching to the very end like this. I hope that at least some of you found this combo guide helpful and were able to learn some new information from it. Yeah, I'm always looking to shake things up a little bit with not just my combo guides, but with each new, most of the videos I do. Maybe barring like the more standard gameplay ones, but yeah, with the combo guides in particular, I like to kind of mix up my presentation. Like I said earlier, for this one, I wanted to show off kind of what you can do to play around certain disruption, not just the standard uninterrupted turn 1 combos. And then, of course, we showed off the turn 2 combo there as well. So, yeah, once again, I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching the very end. Thank you also to those who are subscribing and or commenting. Comments, love to see ya. Love the feedback. If there's any other combo guides you're interested in, if there's any other gameplay tip kind of videos you're interested in, period. If there's any videos you're interested in, period, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions. And yep, subscribing is a good way to support the channel. Also gets you notified when my videos go out, which just happen every single day. So if you subscribe, you can look forward to daily Master Duel content. But that is going to do it for this video. So without further ado, this is XLex signing out. Hope you guys have a fantastic day.